Hey nerds, Shane here from Venture Forth. I play Kellic and I write all the music on the podcast, but I'm also the creative director for our team. When we started the podcast 2 years ago, we wanted to expand on the genre of actual play performance and not just on the production end. So we had a meeting where we discussed the things we liked and disliked about our favorite podcasts and streams, and we put all of that into a list of things that we wanted to have for our show. I took that list and I workshopped it into this: the Venture Forth Rules as Listen, a guiding document for creating a tight narrative, deep characters, and an immersive atmosphere within the confines of improvisational role-playing. Now, if you're not making a podcast or a stream or another actual play kind of performance, you might ask, why should I care about the rules as listen? And that's fair, but I'd contend that these rules will improve the immersive experience at any table, so you can pick and choose the ones that work for your group and throw out the rest. If you are making a podcast or a stream, then what the hell, man? Why are you stealing our rules? Just kidding. The goal here is for the limitations to fuel creativity. So if it's not doing that, just chuck it. A little disclaimer here, these rules overlap a lot, so isolating them is more about making each one a priority instead of just having a generic stew of say yes to things and, be good at improvisation. So just keep that in mind. It's also worth noting that these rules will seem kind of obvious at first, but if you think about them, they're not enforced that frequently. Having a table that chooses to commit to them consistently is what'll make the difference. So without further ado, let's get into what makes Venture Forth such an exciting, detailed, immersive experience, and how you might institute our rules at your table. The rules are, in no particular order. 1. Be open. TTRPGs are full of surprises, so be ready to not have your expectations met. I can't tell you the number of times I've had a plan in my head about how my character was going to do something super duper cool, and then I failed a crucial roll, and I just fell flat on my face. And don't get me wrong, failing feels super bad, but if you lean into the frustration as your character instead of disconnecting from the narrative out of your sort of irritation, it's pretty easy to go, oh, I missed my attack roll, so now I just pallet for the rest of my turn. Or like, I sit on the ground and I cry. When you get frustrated like that and you drop out of character, it actually is a drag on the rest of your table too, and on your DM, because now they're like feeling guilty that you messed up because you're like pouting in the corner. It's no fun for anybody. Instead, try inventing a curse word that your character uses when they miss an attack. Scorful pop! A failed roll or a bad decision can lead you into a lot of trouble, including everybody dying. But it's up to you to choose to enjoy it. Heroes who never fail are boring, as are those who never take risks. 2. Be present. This rule encompasses a thing I think a lot of people miss. We think of entertainment as skipping all the boring stuff and getting to the action. But in long-form, actual play storytelling, we actually have the opportunity to explore the things that you would normally skip, the mundane interactions, and find the meaning therein. Just had a really intense combat encounter? Well, maybe you want to talk about it with your fellow party member and figure out how you feel about it. Do you need to shop for potions? Maybe ask the shopkeeper about how the local economy is doing under the current conditions with the dragons flying around and all that stuff. If something happens, like a change in the weather or you get a specific kind of meal, decide how your character feels about that flavor of food or that kind of weather. These kind of details will help you feel grounded in the story you're telling and make the long journey you're on more meaningful. Here's a fun tip. Try avoiding expressions like, I relay that information to the party, or I tell them everything that I saw, or I catch them up on everything that's happened up until now. The way your character describes things isn't going to be the same as the way your DM does. Playing the realism of having to summarize events will result in accidental secrets, little omissions, and dramatic shifts in momentum. 3. Be generous. This is the yes and one. Everybody knows the fundamental rule of improv is to say yes and, but it's not always as obvious as it sounds. If your party has realistic characters, then you're naturally going to have disagreements, so try to work together to resolve them. If your party takes a rash action that goes against your character's values, hash it out in character. Remember though, while you're fighting in character, you're still friends at the table, so look for opportunities to remind each other about that. You can give them a pat on the back, or if you're across the table, just make meaningful eye contact, maybe a wink or a smile. That was me winking, by the way, this thing. Or best of all, you can just have a conversation about it in between sessions or even in between moments when that sort of scene is over. Make sure that your friends understand that you're mad in character. At our table in Venture Forth, we often go, oh yeah, do it, when somebody's taking a big risk. And then afterward, in character, we'll be like, why did you take that big risk? Communication is key, even if the chest is a mimic. Is that a good joke? This is especially important, not just so you don't hate your fellow players, but also so everybody feels like they're allowed to take risks without being punished by the other players. If it feels like the table turns on you when you do something drastic, then you're gonna stop doing those things, and that's pretty unpleasant. So creating an environment where everybody feels able to take risks without being reprimanded by the rest of the people at the table will lead you to much more exciting stories. Number 4, be trusting. We often rephrase this one as trust the DM. I don't think it's a hot take to say D&D is not always fair. So it's important to remember that the DM is not really your enemy. They're playing as the bad guys and some of the monsters and all that stuff, but they're also trying to tell a good story. So if they do something that seems unfair, or they create a monster that has like ridiculous stats, or they simply deny you from performing a specific action for mystical reasons, just remember that they're doing that to tell a good story, and try to have confidence without pestering them about it, that it's going to turn out interesting on the other side. It's okay to remind your DM of a rule they forgot, but develop an awareness of when you're being overly scrutinous. Remember that you're telling the story together. It feels bad to lose, but chances are you're going to get a rematch. 5, be respectful. This one's obvious. You should be kind to the other people at your table, but it can be hard when you're doing a lot of very, very immersive role-playing and you have a really cool character that you want to explore, but just be aware of how much time you're taking at the table and make sure everybody gets a moment to be awesome. A side note on this, once you're a little ways into the campaign, start to look around at the other characters and how their arcs are developing and even how their skills are developing. And try to look for ways that your character can occupy a niche. If somebody else is kind of turning into a glass cannon, then maybe you want to go a different route. If somebody's having a character arc that revolves around discovering the meaning of power and the potential dangers of becoming powerful, and maybe look for a different character arc for your character to pursue. Find the place you fit in the bigger story you're all telling together. Number 6, be honorable. Gamers! This one's hard for us because we want to min-max and we want to kick ass and we don't ever want to fail because we're used to optimizing and being rewarded for it. The good news is you can still do that to a certain extent. Just look at Kellick's stat block. He's fucking awesome. But remember those rules about being open and trusting the DM? That's where these come in. If you find yourself bullying the DM to get a special item that will finish off your build and make you unkillable, congratulations, you've ruined the game for everyone. And for God's sakes, please don't roll unless you're asked. You might not even have to, and you're being annoying. DM, I rolled a 22 on my perception check. What do I see? I didn't ask you to do a perception check, dude. You see in trees, okay? It makes sense to be aware of the strengths and weaknesses of your party, but check yourself if you start requesting people do certain tasks for you because you know that their skill in that area is higher. Check out these neat charts I have to find some more immersive expressions if you're really hell-bent on making a certain kind of skill check, or you really want a member of your party to do something for you. Number 7, be chill. While the be generous rule is about being supportive of your teammates in their risk-taking, the be chill rule is about letting go of your preconceived notions of what should happen. Things aren't always going to go your way, and your character's not always going to turn out the way you had planned. You may have to change a fundamental thing about your character as your party does a thing that your character would never do. Keep in mind, you're telling a story together, and you don't know what kind of concessions the rest of the people at the table made for something you did earlier. Inter-party conflict is good and not to be feared. Too often do adventuring parties become sort of hive mind of generically good milquetoast heroes. We want to avoid that. So pick a couple values and care about them a lot. If your party is having a serious contentious conflict though, look for reasons to stay together. Let's say the party robbed somebody and your character is really against robbery as a fundamental part of their character. Don't bemoan the robbery until your party begs you to stay on the team and to do whatever. It puts your fellow players in a crappy spot. It's up to you to decide how your character becomes okay with it. And if they really can't, if you really, really feel that this character will never be okay with it, time for a new character sheet. The short and long of it is, don't force your fellow players to invent a reason for your character to stick around. In the building of a character, it's good to have these immutable ideologies that they don't want to stray from. But once you're in the game, things are going to change. The expression I like for this is hold on tightly, let go lightly. Take it very seriously, push it as far as you can, but if it's not going to happen, be chill. Number 8, be excited. You know that idea about forcing yourself to smile, actually making you feel more positive and making you feel better? This is kind of that in RPG form. If you play at being scared of the big monster your DM just revealed, then you might actually find yourself being a little scared. You as a player know that your DM did not invent a trap that you cannot solve and you are most certainly going to die, but your character doesn't know that. So they're going to take every single encounter deadly serious. This extends to drastic decisions, cool ideas, and terrible jokes at your table. You don't have to manufacture a reaction to be invested. Just be open to making a noise. Number 9, be compelling. This is a little bit like saying do a good job or something, but the focus here is to play your character from first person, not third. Don't tell us what your character is feeling. Behave in the way that that feeling makes them behave. I'll defend to my last breath your right to play a broody rogue. But don't just spend the whole session sulking. Describe to us how you are cleaning your equipment, avoiding eye contact, staring longingly into the fireplace, or trying to hide a smile at the rest of the party's antics. Side note, dive into the charming term lord dump. Maybe it's just me, but I don't want stories dumped on me at any point. My suggestion is this. Try to lay out the details of your character's backstory in little breadcrumbs throughout the campaign, only as they're relevant to what's going on around you. Intrigue your fellow players and then reward their curiosity with a payoff. My examples here are a little silly, but you get the idea. Number 10, be descriptive. Everything that happens in your campaign is happening in the real world of your characters. Describe how your character casts their spells, describe how they swing their sword, how they put on their armor, how they comb their hair. If this is a challenge for you, look for a visual theme that you can sort of map your character around. My character, Kellic, who's always doing something with fiery, embery ashes. Flynn, who's got these tattoos and this sort of mysterious codex he's trying to figure out as he grows. And Ulma, who's got these uncontrollable feelings that explode out of her. And those are just a few. So that's it. That's the rules as listened. That's our Constitution, our 10 Commandments, our secret formula for Krabby Patties. And again, remember you can salt to taste here. Use whatever rules your party finds fun and get rid of the other ones. If you do find yourself implementing these rules at your table, or maybe you're already doing it and I'm telling you something you already know, let me know how that's working out for your table in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, nerds. Do 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 dee doo.